What have I been reading recently? Stay tuned and find out. Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. I'm Zach with Zacks Books, and today I've got my recent reads for you. I've got 4 books that I have read, most recently of course, and I've got a good mixture here. I'm currently in the middle of Middle of the Night by Riley Sager, which is a good book so far. I know it gets a lot of, I don't want to say hate, but not many people really like it by what I've heard. So finally getting to it though, so very exciting times. But yeah, we'll link these 4 books down below if you're intrigued with any of them. Also down below is the podcast, Danielle's channel, which we are doing an announcement video on her channel. We're going to be doing some fun stuff for the month of December on her channel. We're going to be doing Vlogmas. I don't know which video is going up first, the announcement video on her channel or this one, so whatever. But yeah, we're doing that. It's going to be very fun and exciting, and go check out her channel, subscribe to her, because duh. And yeah, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and let's get into the books. Alright, first up is one that I honestly, in the midst of reading this a couple weeks ago now, I'm actually demoting my star rating. Originally I gave it 3, but I'm going to give this 2 for the sole purpose of I really do not remember much about any of this. And that is Haunt Sweet Home, Sarah Pinsker. So this one, we are following a girl named Mara, and she basically gets this job as it's like this fake, kind of like a ghost hunter show, but it's like realting, kind of. Like these people are like, you buy a house or you try and get the one you have fixed up, but the one you're looking into buying is haunted, or the one you have is haunted or something like that. I don't fully remember the exact concept of where the haunt takes place, whether it's the new house or the one they're trying to, fix or whatever. But ultimately, there's something involving her cousin's part of the show. He's the guy who is in charge of the show. This girl, Mara, who we're following, is being followed by this girl who's trying to help her with stuff, but the issue I kind of had, A, it was not that memorable, and B, I would definitely say it was predictable as to what the issue was with this weird person kind of following her around when she was hiding behind things to scare people. It was kind of obvious what the situation was with her, so I mean, I'm not going to spoil it, but I kind of saw it happen happening from a mile away, so that's the reason why I will dock this points too. But again, the main thing is it really was not that memorable for me. And to be fair though, I did pick this up when I was kind of in a rut with the next book I was reading, which is a shorter book, but it took me 2 weeks because I just had no oomph to read. I really didn't. And one of the DNF, I actually have a DNF in this. Well, I'm not going to talk about it in this video. But I did have a DNF, and I might mention it with a later book because it's from the same author. So, but yeah, Haunt Sweet Home, Sarah Pinsker just really was not for me. I'm going to settle on 2 stars with this book. Alright, next up is one, like I said in the previous one, this took me a little while to read, and it's not because it was long. I just kind of got in a rut with my reading at some point, and there was a lot of things with this book that kind of irked me, and that was mainly because of babies, and we have a baby. Well, I guess he's 1 now, but still a baby. And that is Nestlings by Nat Cassidy. So ultimately, I'm going to probably end up giving this 3.5 stars. I might go with 4. I am still kind of on the fence with this, even though I've read it 2-3 weeks ago now. This one was a good book. It had... The story itself is good. This book we're following Anna and Reed, and basically they stumble upon this apartment and they get this really good deal on it. Anna is handicapped. She's in a wheelchair because of an accident that happened. Reed is at the start, I got a lot of weird oh, this book kind of feels like this book. Oh, it kind of feels like this book. There are parts where it felt like The Shining. There's parts where it felt like a Pet Cemetery type thing, where it's just really eerie and stuff like that. It's like I got other book vibes from this, but they just like didn't blend well together. Also, Reed's not a good person. I'll phrase it that way. I was gonna say something else, but I don't want to say that. So Anna and Reed, they have a baby, and I honestly forget what her name is. And honestly, I don't really think it fully. I mean, it matters, but I don't remember what the baby's name is in this. But ultimately, like, they get this apartment, and they think it's like the best thing in the world. And again, she's handicapped, so like they're like near the top floor, so it's like really like upsetting for her. But like, I don't know. Oh, Salem's Lot. That was the other one I thought of, not Pet Cemetery. But like, there's this weird stuff going on. There's a lot of weird people in this apartment complex, in this building. And again, Reed is just like a terrible person. He's like for her at the beginning, and he's like all for all the stuff she does. She's like an erotic like book like narrator, basically is what she is, or like romance is what I think they like say, but. And one of her friends is like, I got hot reading that. And it's like, okay, cool. But yeah, so this book, anything like that happens with like a child or like a baby, I just like, now that we have Maverick, it just kind of like hits different. Like when I read Pet Cemetery this time around, it definitely felt different. And I still gave it 5 stars. I still love the book. But this, it felt a little bit more like even though like, I can't like go into detail with this because I don't want to spoil anything, but like unspoiler, like the baby doesn't die, but like I don't know, just good things don't happen to it, and it's like I don't know, not a fan. But regardless of that fact, the book is pretty decent, and I definitely would say, if you can get past like the whole like irkiness with like the stuff happening to the baby, then like this book would probably work for you. But I am going to settle on probably 3.5 stars with this one. Yeah, not much else to really say about it, but otherwise I would definitely recommend this. So there you have Nat Cassidy's Nestlings. Alright, the next book that I'm going to talk about is one that I actually read a while ago at this point, probably over a month ago. So bear with me here. The House at Phantom Park by Graham Masterton. This was a really, really good book. I gave this 5 stars. And it's definitely a runner for like top 5 of the year, not gonna lie. So in this book, we're following Lillian, who is basically, she works for this building company in England, and they're like renovating St. Philomena's military hospital. And they're like redoing it. It's supposed to be like it's either going to be like a museum or like an apartment that they're trying to do, and there's like all these weird creepy things are going on in the building. There's definitely like some hauntings going on, and there's this like, I will also admit I did kind of predict what a certain character was in this book, not like the actual term they used later, but like what the person was like going to be the bad guy or whatever. But there's this weird groundskeeper in this book that's kind of like wandering around the building, and like for some reason like, and this is kind of like what kind of gave it away for me, honestly, was like it seemed like almost like nobody else really like noticed the guy except for Lillian. So I thought that was kind of weird until like he was brought up to the other people. But a lot of things are going on. There's like soldiers that like some people can see and like some people can't. There's like entities in the building. And Lillian's trying to figure out what the hell's going on because they're trying to like demolish the place and like renovate it, and they can't. And all this stuff's going on. And I really did enjoy this book, but for the life of me, that's all I could really remember. That is not going to spoil anything. So, I mean, I really enjoyed this book. It's definitely one that I would reread because it was really, really good. So, and again, Lillian is somebody who doesn't believe in like supernatural stuff. So she's like optimistic at first, like with what's going on and what she keeps hearing, seeing, and like what she's being told. But again, really solid story. Absolutely love this book, and I definitely would recommend this. There you have The House at Phantom Park by Graham Masterton. All right, the last book I'm going to talk about is definitely one that I could rant about forever. And honestly, since I just reread it, I need to do my rant review of this book. And that is The Green Mile by Stephen King. And I need to say this now. The book that I DNF'd was It. And I know that that's like, seems like a shock, and like, because it's one of my favorite Stephen King books of all time. And I'm not going to lie, I need to redo my top Stephen King books because it has been knocked down a few pegs, and I'm not going to lie about it. And it finally hit me, like, getting halfway through the book, like, I could have read 2 books by reading halfway through it, almost. And don't get me wrong, it's a great book, it's phenomenal, but, like, it's long. But I'm talking about The Green Mile, which is honestly one of the greatest books by Stephen King. And I feel highly underrated and not fully appreciated because it's not like horror. In this book, we're following it's the 1930s, and we're following like a death row facility, also, and they call it like the Green Mile. And we're like, Paul Edgecombe is this guy who's kind of in charge of the area that they're in, like Block E, I think is what they are. It's either Block E or Block C, but I think it's E. But anyway, he's pretty much the guy in charge, and we're basically following like this like mysterious miracle, and his name is John Coffey, and he's this very large black man, and what happens is he's found with 2 dead girls on his body, like in his arms, out in the woods, and he's accused of murder. And honestly, this is actually one of the saddest books because you know the truth about what's going on with John Coffey, and like pretty soon, like, the guards find out about everything that went on and the truth about John Coffey, and it's one of the saddest, like, it's a movie too, and it's one of the saddest movies ever, in my opinion. And even Danielle cried, and she wasn't even like watching the first half of the movie. So it's definitely a very touching book. It's not typical horror Stephen King, but it is like, it's such a good book. This is a 5-star book, and honestly, this has taken its spot. Like, Pet Sematary up there, and Green Mile's right behind it. Like, this is such a phenomenal story. It's very touching. And again, this is like older. This is like mid-90s King or something like that. I just really like this. And like the famous quote at the end, like, we each owe a death, there are no exceptions. I know that, but sometimes, oh God, the Green Mile is so long. Like, it's such a sad book. And there's definitely a lot of stuff that I didn't even talk about in this. Like, Edward Delacroix's like botched execution because of Percy. Percy is such a not a good character. I really do not like him. But it's so good. And I need to stop talking about this book, otherwise this video is going to be like 30 minutes long. So, yeah, 5 stars, definitely one of my favorite Stephen King books of all time. And it's definitely very moving. And if you have not seen the movie, I would highly recommend it. It's like 3 hours, but it's worth it. Trust me. But yeah, there you have The Green Mile by Stephen King. Alright, so those are the 4 most recent reads I've had, and again, like I said, I mentioned it being a DNF. I'm sure I'll probably read it again eventually. It's not like it's a bad book, it's just, it got me in a bit of a rut, so it's on the shelf right now, but I'm going to pick it back up eventually, because it's it, duh. But yeah, there are the 4 most recent reads I've had this in the past little bit here. We'll link them down below. Again, also down below, podcast, Danielle's channel. And again, like I said earlier, we're doing Vlogmas on her channel, so go check her out. Go check out her channel, subscribe. It's going to be a really fun time. And yeah, that just about does it. If you have any recent reads that you want to share, let me know in the comments down below. If you've read any of these books, let me know your thoughts. And yeah, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and we'll see you guys in the next video. Later.